Where do we go after we die? It's a question humans have been asking for thousands of years, and almost every religion ever created has tried to answer it. Today, we're going to travel through history, starting with the oldest religions still practiced today, all the way to some of the newest, and look at what each one teaches about heaven, hell, and everything in between. Let's start with Hinduism, which is around 4,000 years old, making it one of the oldest living religions on Earth. Hinduism doesn't really have a single heaven or hell the way many people imagine. Instead, it teaches reincarnation, the idea that your soul is reborn again and again. What determines your next life is karma, the sum of your good and bad actions. If you live a good life, you may be reborn into better circumstances, or even into one of many heavenly realms called Swarga, where souls enjoy the rewards of good karma for a time. If you live badly, you might be reborn into a difficult life, or spend time in Naraka, a temporary hell where souls face the consequences of their actions before being reborn again. But here's the key difference from many other religions. None of this is permanent. The ultimate goal isn't heaven at all, it's moksha, liberation from the entire cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, where the soul finally merges with the divine. Next, let's go to Zoroastrianism, also around 3,500 years old, and one of the first religions to introduce the idea of a final judgment, an idea that would later influence Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In Zoroastrianism, after death, every soul must cross the Chinvat bridge. Your thoughts, words, and deeds throughout your life are weighed on a cosmic scale. If your good deeds outweigh the bad, the bridge becomes wide and easy to cross, leading you to the house of song, a paradise of light and joy. But if your bad deeds outweigh the good, the bridge narrows to the width of a razor's edge, and the soul falls into the house of lies, a dark and painful place. Zoroastrianism also teaches that eventually, even this won't be permanent. There's a final renewal of the world where good ultimately triumphs over evil for everyone. Now let's look at Judaism, also roughly 3,500 years old. Judaism is interesting because, compared to many other religions, it spends far less time describing the afterlife and far more time focusing on how to live a righteous life here and now. That said, Jewish tradition does describe an afterlife called Olam haba, or the world to come, a place of reward for righteous souls, and importantly, this isn't limited to Jewish people. Righteous people of any background are believed to have a place there. There's also a concept called Gehinnom, often translated as a kind of hell, but in most interpretations, it's not eternal torment, it's more like a temporary process of purification, where a soul is cleansed of its wrongdoings before moving on. Only in extreme cases is a soul believed to be cut off permanently. Moving forward in time, we reach Buddhism, around 2,500 years old. Buddhism takes a very different approach. It teaches that there are 6 realms of existence a soul can be reborn into, the realms of gods, demigods, humans, animals, hungry ghosts, and hell beings. Each of these realms, even the heavenly ones, is temporary, lasting only as long as the karma that brought you there. So even the heaven realms in Buddhism aren't a final destination. Eventually, that being will be reborn again somewhere else. The hell realms work the same way, intense suffering, but not forever. The true goal in Buddhism isn't to reach any of these 6 realms at all. It's nirvana, complete liberation from the cycle of rebirth and suffering altogether, a state beyond heaven and hell entirely. Now we arrive at Christianity, around 2,000 years old, and one of the most widely followed religions in the world today. Christianity generally teaches a single life, followed by a final judgment. Heaven is described as eternal life in the presence of God, a place of peace, joy, and reunion, available to those who believe in Jesus Christ and follow his teachings. Hell, on the other hand, is described as eternal separation from God, often symbolized by fire and darkness, for those who reject this path. Within Christianity, the Catholic tradition also teaches about purgatory, a temporary state where souls are purified of remaining sin before entering heaven. It's worth noting that different branches of Christianity, Catholic, Protestant, Orthodox, do have variations in how they describe these afterlife concepts, but the core idea of heaven as eternal reward and hell as eternal consequence runs throughout.
Next is Islam, around 1,400 years old. Islam teaches that on the Day of Judgment, every person's deeds throughout their life will be weighed. Jannah, or paradise, is described in beautiful detail gardens filled with flowing rivers, shade, and peace, a reward for those who believed in God and lived according to his guidance. Gehinnom, or hell, is described as a place of fire and punishment for those who rejected God or committed great wrongdoing. Interestingly, within Islamic teaching, there's a distinction often made for believers who sinned but maintained their faith. Time in Jahannam may be temporary, a kind of purification before eventually reaching paradise. But for those who completely rejected God, the punishment is described as eternal. Now, let's talk about Sikhism, a much younger religion at around 550 years old, founded in the 15th century. Sikhism takes yet another approach. It doesn't focus on a physical heaven or hell as a final destination at all. Like Hinduism, it includes the concept of rebirth based on one's actions and karma. But the ultimate goal in Sikhism is union with God, merging the individual soul with the divine through devotion, meditation, honest living, and service to others. Achieving this union ends the cycle of rebirth completely, which is considered the highest spiritual achievement. So, after looking at religions spanning 4,000 years of human history from ancient Hinduism and Zoroastrianism to Judaism, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, and Sikhism, what do we notice? Despite very different descriptions, very different names, and very different timelines, there's a pattern that repeats across almost all of them. Good actions lead to some form of reward, whether that's heaven, a better rebirth, or spiritual liberation. Bad actions lead to some form of consequence, whether that's hell, a difficult rebirth, or a period of purification. And in many of the oldest traditions, even punishment isn't necessarily forever. It's often described as a process, a correction, rather than a permanent endpoint. Whether you follow one of these religions, all of them, or none of them, it's fascinating to see how cultures separated by thousands of years and thousands of miles arrived at strikingly similar conclusions about morality, consequence, and what might come next. So, which belief did you find the most interesting?
Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe for more.